Welcome to episode 7 of Empty Hand, Open Mind. Today we're going to talk about books that I think are beneficial for Goju practitioners, actually all practitioners, but specifically Goju. But I'd like to start today's show with sharing our new song that is going to be the show opener.
On the floor, you bow with your eyes, then you want more. Knuckles stay calm, back straight, don't fold. You came for the heat, but you brought control. Empty hand, open mind, I keep it right here. Every bruise tells me I was built for this year.
So, hope you like it. That's going to be the new show opener. Let me switch this to silent it now so I don't get any calls. Sorry about that. Okay, so going on with the show. Sorry, I'm not a professional at this at all. I'm just a karate practitioner and teacher and just trying to share, and technology is new to me. I know how to use a computer, but I've never had a podcast or did any kind of media stuff, and so I'm just on here to share. So forgive my stumbling and fumbling around. But anyway, to get to the core of the show, let's talk about books, specifically that I feel really help Goju practitioners and would benefit them to read. I'm not paid to endorse any of these, and so these are just books that I've read and found value in. I've read over 300 books and probably still have a couple hundred in my library. And I have found some that I want to reread many times and some that I read once and don't pick up again. So anyway, today I want to share some books that I think really help some practitioners of Goju. So let's start with basics. So the first book is by Higono Sensei, one of my teachers for 7 years at his Hanbu Dojo. And it is his Traditional Karate Fundamental Techniques 1. He has 4 books. Volume 2 is Performance of the Kata. Volume 3 is Application of the Kata. Volume 4 is Application of the Kata Continued. But this is the one to begin with. 1 and 2 really cover the basics and Sanshin, etc. And so one of the things when I was, these books are expensive now. So they were very affordable when they came out, but now they're much more expensive. So you got to try to find a used one somewhere. But anyway, when I was with Higono Sensei, one of the things he told me is that when making videos of kata, people always make mistakes, or maybe their elbows aren't capable of touching. And so people think that the arm should come like this and not touch. And, but he said in his book that he reviewed them and edited them many times. Like, I think he even said he reviewed it like 15 times or something. I don't know the exact number. But he said, anyway, the books are correct. So if you get volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, if you're fortunate enough to find them, then those are a great addition to your library. And they really cover Goju as taught by Higono Sensei pretty well. Okay, next. Even though it's Japanese Goju, which is still Goju and good stuff, The Fundamentals of Goju Karate by Gosei Yamaguchi Sensei, the eldest son of Gogen Yamaguchi Sensei. This is a really good book to have in your library. These are expensive on Amazon, but he still sells them on his website. So if you go to Goju Kai USA, you can find, well, at least you used to be able to, you can find these books for sale there and at a very affordable price. I think $20 or $30. But anyway, there's book 1 and 2. And I highly recommend these. And he really covers the symmetrical aspects of Goju and of basics and stances, etc. And Yamaguchi Gosei Sensei is a very intelligent man, and he explains karate well. So anyway, these are a good addition to your library. Next, this isn't Goju, But in my opinion, this is the best book ever written in karate about fundamentals, basics. So this is by Nakayama sensei of the JKA Shotokan. This is the successor to Gichin Funakoshi sensei. Dynamic Karate is a fantastic, fantastic book on fundamentals. And regardless of your karate style, if you do karate, you got to have this book. And you should study this book. It's well written, it's understandable, and it's applicable. So this gives you a lot of knowledge about fundamentals. So I highly recommend this book by Nakayama sensei, one of the best to have ever lived. Next, sticking with Goju Ryu, the history, if you want to get into the history of Goju Ryu, especially Okinawan Goju Ryu, the history of karate by Higo Morio sensei. This is a really good book. I think that overall it's fairly unbiased. It leans a little, of course, towards his lineage and his experience, but that's natural. He's human. So this is a good book, a good read. It introduces you to some first-generation students you probably don't know. And it covers the history of Higo Kanyo sensei and Miyagi Chojun sensei and Anichi Miyagi sensei and Higo Morio sensei and several others. So if you want to read a good book on Goju Ryu history, this is it. Again, this may be kind of hard to find and expensive as well. Next, the book that isn't specific to just Goju Ryu, and there's several volumes, but volume 2 of Okinawan Karate, A History of Styles and Masters, Fujin, Nahate, Goju Ryu, and Other Styles. This book by Christopher M. Clark, is a really good book about Goju Ryu, Nahate, and Fujin province influence on those arts in Okinawa. So this is by Christopher M. Clark. It's a good read. I recommend adding this to your library and reading this as well. Next is a novel. It's not a novel, but it's ginormous. This is Karate Uchina-Di. So I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm not sure. But Karate Uchina-Di. Uchina-Di. Okinawan Karate, an exploration of its origins and evolution. This book covers the history, mythology, culture, philosophy, ethics, and legacy. It is by Itzik Cohen. Itzik, Itzik Cohen. There it is. Uchina. Anyway, good book, good read, really thick. Take you a while to read this one. It's over 600 pages, but it's a good read. Take your time, get a cup of coffee, and every morning read a chapter or two, and you'll enjoy that book. Next, I think the most influential book regarding Goju Ryu and China's influence on it and how White Crane affected and impacts Goju Ryu and its formation. I think this is the best book written to kind of tie the two together and explain it and bring understanding to what kind of influences and how it affected Goju Ryu and Goju Ryu's eventual formation. Shaolin White Crane. It is by Dr. Yang. An excellent book. This is my favorite book on Chinese martial arts and very relevant to Goju Ryu. So this book is still available. He has his own publishing company. It is YMAA Publisher, and it is again by Dr. Yang. Shaolin White Crane, Martial Power in Qigong. So this is a really good book if you're interested in how White Crane Kung Fu influenced, impacted, affected, and relates to Okinawan Goju Ryu. Good book. It's one of them I've referenced several times. Next, a book originally that was handed down and handwritten from teacher to student is the Bubishi. And this is a Bubishi that's in all Japanese. and you can see it has techniques. And this book was translated by Patrick McCarthy sensei, and much easier to read. And the Bubishi covers a lot more than just technique, but this is considered the holy grail of Okinawan karate, the Bubishi. So it covers, besides history, etc., it goes into a lot of Chinese medicine, vital points, fighting techniques, more fighting techniques, medicine and herbal pharmacology, history and philosophy. It's just a really in-depth book. This is a book you got to pick up and read several times and go back to it several times. But every karateka should have this book in their library. I'm appreciative that McCarthy sensei translated it and made it available for all of us. I've bought that book for several of my students. If you want to get into, even though it's more Japanese, the code of Bushido and what Bushido represents about loyalty and courage, etc. Bushido, the Warrior's Code. It's a good book by Notobe. This is a really good book pertaining to Bushido and the code of Bushido, referred to as the Warrior's Code. And it also gives you some insight into history and, the samurai history. And it's not a book about samurai history, but it still goes into, it gives you a feeling and a sense of why the Bushido Code was important. But it's just a really good book if you know what the Bushido Code is. We go by the 7 virtues of Bushido. Some have 6, some have 8. The one we use is 7. It hangs in our Hanbu dojo, and we think it's great, although it's Japanese and referred to from reference for Japanese samurai and warriors from Japan. It's still, I think, very beneficial for an emotional and mental mindset, as well as character, for any warrior, regardless of what country you're from. So I think all martial artists should study the Bushido Code and try to apply it. If you want a book that's just for fun, laughs, great read, hard to put down, Robert Twigger's Angry White Pajamas, right there it is a great book. So this book is really funny. It's really enjoyable to read. And I've read it a couple times because it just it makes me laugh, and it's just a good read. So we ended with Angry White Pajamas. So get your pen and paper out, and we'll summarize real quick just the titles again. So Angry White Pajamas, Bushido Code by Notobe. Bubishi by McCarthy sensei, Patrick McCarthy sensei. This is a must. Shaolin White Crank. This is by Dr. Yang. Every Goju library should have this in it. Huge history, lots of great information. Karate Uchina-Di, Okinawan karate explanation of its origins and evolution. This really helps you understand Okinawa and the evolution and history of karate. I highly recommend this book. Great read, but really long, by Cohen, Cohen. Okinawan Karate, A History, Styles, and Masters, Christopher Clark. Higono Morio Sensei's book, The History of Karate, if you can find it. Every karate style, every karate practitioner and teacher should have this book, Dynamic Karate by Nakayama Sensei. Best book ever written on fundamentals. Japanese Goju Kai's Yamaguchi Gosei Sensei's Fundamental of Goju Ryu Karate, Volume 1 and 2. Should be available on his website, USA Goju Kai. Hard book to find and very expensive, but well worth it. Traditional Karate Do Fundamental Techniques 1, Volume 1. There's 4 volumes. great reference. And Higona Sensei put a lot of effort and time into editing those. Anyway, I love reading about karate. I love reading, period. And if you grab those books, if you don't already have them, I'm sure that you'll enjoy them and you'll find them of value too. And so I explained a little bit about each of them, and you can just pick and choose or buy them all or just buy a few and give them a try. But these are great books for any Goju library. Okay, well, listen, have a great week, train hard, and we'll see you next time on Empty Hand, Open Mind.